No agenda, no bull crap, just real conversations. Thank you for joining us for the Middle of the Street podcast.
Man, every month we have more bills. Every month. And they get more expensive because the kids get older. I was talking to a guy. He spends $280 every 2 weeks getting his hair done. He has locks like me. I said, I do my own shit. Like, what the fuck? I was like, man, that's a lot of money. He's like, oh, no, it's not, man. I'm looking like, you have kids? He's like, yeah. I was like, how many kids? He's like, 3. I'm like, damn.
How old are they?
Exactly. That's my next question. He's like 3, 2, and 1. I was like, you think diapers are expensive? They're not.
No.
Compared to private school and Jordans and $80 yoga pants.
There's a sweet spot raising kids. And that sweet spot's when they're out of diapers, starting to eat some real food, and they're not at daycare. You've got a really, really short window where they're pretty inexpensive.
That's a short window.
It is a very short window.
Oh, why? I heard that too. You hear that?
Yeah.
Let me get this fixed. Hopefully it was that. Yeah, I think it was that. Bang, bang. Let me make sure this side is good too. Let's see here. Ooh, here, I'll turn this down before we do that. All right, make sure our shit is good. Bang, bang.
That's better.
Bang, bang. So, and you know, when it comes to balance, what I've been struggling with lately is, I feel like this should be a little louder. Let's see. Okay. So what I've been struggling with lately is how much do I make them pay for their own way? And this has been a real struggle because I grew up wanting to be the family like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Okay. And in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, those kids didn't do any chores and they didn't make any money except for, it seems like when they were in college and they started working at the shop.
Yep.
But before that, their job was school. And I've heard some parents say their job is school. I've heard some say make them work. And now, especially when my kids have now, like, for example, my son has a car, that insurance, gas. He wants to go out and take a girl to the movies and all these extra things. How much does he need to pay for? How much should he be working? We have opportunities for him to work at home. He doesn't even have to leave the household to work. We have multiple businesses streams where he can work that are actively making money on the books where he can just do them, right?
Yep.
We have clients, we have cleaning clients, we have technology clients. So how much should he be working, in your opinion, as a 16-year-old?
I'm probably a poor example because I worked a lot and was involved in high school sports. But I think that they need to be able to participate to provide for all of their fun money and gas money.
Mm-hmm. Fun money and gas money.
I'm responsible to probably pay for their insurance.
Okay.
Unless they wreck their car, that's a different upswing.
Okay.
I'm responsible to put, clothes on the back, feed them, that type of stuff.
Okay.
That's how I always viewed it. And Megan can contest, and Mariah, I made them work as soon as they were in high school and old enough to.
Mm-hmm.
I made them work if they weren't involved in school activities.
If they weren't involved in school activities.
Just got into anything
Get
yet.
up in there. Get up in there.
Love you.
Me too.
Well, shit, let me get a hug too then, baby. Let me take my hugs when I can get them too. Shoot, love it, baby. Let me take my little hug. Appreciate you, Grandpa. See, then got me a hug.
Absolutely.
Now, so what happens is I like that, and I like that thought. What if a kid has a 4.0? Still.
Zach had a 4.0. He worked at Amigos, and he was involved in 2 sports. Varsity sports all 4 years. As a freshman, he varsity wrestled all 4 years. Varsity football for 3 years. He still had to work. He worked at Amigos. Didn't work a lot. Worked when he could.
But for gas and fun money.
For some gas and fun money. And
I like it.
Now, we had to supplement some with him because he was really busy with extracurricular stuff.
Yeah.
But
Like-
that was okay.
Like you do a little bit of give and pull if the boy is doing crazy amount of hours,
Yeah.
doing other extracurriculars and things.
And then, when he went to college, he was basically working 30 to 40 hours a week while in chemical engineering school and got done in 4 years.
Now, what about back to teenager wise? Now, household chores.
Everybody was responsible for their room and helping and doing their laundry. I mean, I made the kids start doing their laundry, teenage 13, 14.
Okay.
I made them responsible for doing their laundry. But that was me. I just wanted them to participate in the household chores. It wasn't 100% mom and dad's responsibility to keep the house clean. It wasn't mom and dad's 100% responsibility to wash all your clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy part about it is, even today, Cheryl and I do our own laundry. So Cheryl and I have been doing our own laundries. We've been married for 40 years. I bet it's been 30 years that her and I have done our own laundry.
Wow. I don't even know how to do laundry.
So
If
Megan's
I-
spoiling you.
If I had to do laundry, I'd be. One time, I think I had to take something to a laundry thing. It was got something dirty on a film set or something. I wanted to just take care of it. And I went to the laundry place and I couldn't figure shit out. And luckily there's an attendant. And she's like, hey, for $2, you can just pay us to do it. It's like, take my money. Hurry up and take this money. If you don't take this money, if you didn't already tell me that. Yeah. So that's a skill. So having the kids do their own laundry and chip in with their fun money. Seems reasonable.
At least a percentage of it.
Seems
things
reasonable.
are expensive today. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they need to participate in the economics so you're preparing them for adulthood,
Mm-hmm.
preparing them for adulting. I think that's what some people haven't done. That's why you've got 30-plus-year-olds living in the basement with mom and dad still,
Sure.
because they never had to adult.
Never
Mom's
had to
still
really do
doing their laundry. Mom's still cooking for them,
Mm.
still cleaning for them.
And it's a real recipe usually for just failure, it seems like.
Adulting is hard.
Mm.
You can relate.
It's different for me because I grew up in situations of poverty to where if I didn't chip in, shit wasn't going to happen. My chipping in wasn't fun money. My chipping in was putting shit on the table.
Yeah, I get it.
Right. And so it's just different, man. It's so different for me because they don't have to contribute like that.
You don't want them to have to contribute like that.
Yeah.
They could contribute like that.
Mhm.
They have opportunities.
Mhm.
It just hasn't been a priority for them.
And I just don't when I try to I want to try to move to stressing it, and we talk about stressing it and doing it, but it just seems like
It's hard.
it seems like just in my psyche, I feel like I don't want to, but I feel like if I don't, then I'm hurting them.
At some point, all your kids are going to get out on their own, have their own families, have their own things. So they need to learn some basic skills: cooking, cleaning, laundry, and an avenue to create revenue for themselves.
Yeah. And be used to creating revenue for themselves. Because the real world just will snatch you.
I had it kind of easy in that, I always had opportunities to work and to make money, even around all my other stuff.
Mm.
And my whole thing from the time I was, I don't know, I must have been 10, 12, 14 years old, was I always put half of whatever my check was in the bank.
Straight to the bank.
If I made $100 in that 2 weeks working at Jack and Jill grocery store, $50 of it went in my bank
Yeah.
and $50 of it went to me.
Sure. That's some what do they call that? Discipline.
Yeah, it just created good discipline. So then, when I got older and got real jobs with 401ks and that type of stuff, I'm going to max this out.
It was easy for you to just put it away.
I'm going to max this out. If I don't have it, I won't spend it.
Sure. No, I dig it. I dig it completely.
Cheryl and I had lots of conversations about we need this or do we want it?
Sure. Sure. And I think that it's it's once you start making money, it's tough to remember that, because like, well, shit, I'm making money. Why not live this fun American dream and just get what I want when I want it? Which is a cool thing in America. It seems like you can do that.
Yeah.
Well, so look, let's shift from, or it's a nice segue into economics, making money, and what's happening right now. Let's move back to Doge, and let's move back to Elon Musk. Now, I want to say something. A long time ago, one day I came to your house. I'm not sure if I was dropping off the kids or picking them up, one of the two probably. And you were talking about how you had just watched a 60 Minutes or something like that on Tesla. And not Nikola Tesla, who I was like in love with, but in Elon Musk, who has the Tesla company. And you were just raving about this, about basically what he's doing and how he's like revolutionizing the game. And you have historically, when we've talked, have never been a huge super fan of renewable energies, like as in solar or the electric stuff, because you're always like, the trade-off really isn't there. But for some reason, you were impressed with just the way Elon was doing business, it seemed like.
I was impressed with him starting with I don't want to say a clean slate, because he had some technology that he got when he bought Tesla.
Sure.
He didn't get a lot, but he got some. But he revolutionized it. And most engineers, by their nature, if there's something that fails, they want to do a plus something else to reinforce that.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting back to the root cause as to exactly why did this fail? How do we re-engineer this by removing parts
Mm-hmm.
and making it better instead of adding?
Okay.
Same thing he's done really with SpaceX. Most expensive part is not having reusable rockets. So how do I make these reusable?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, how do I get them to land or to catch them as he's doing now,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can reuse this, have a short turnaround, save billions of dollars to not having to redo it every time. From his first initial rockets, and I don't remember the exact number, but he basically cut the parts in half.
Wow.
How many parts are in it?
It's crazy.
Well, anytime you eliminate parts, you eliminate failure and you eliminate cost.
Less places to go wrong.
Yeah.
Less expensive to make.
Yeah.
So you were impressed with all these things. But while that was happening, and then really another thing I'll point out in that 60 Minutes is he mentioned to, I don't know if it's Barbara or whoever was talking to him, that it's open source. He said, actually, these patents for Tesla, for making electric cars, how we're doing, is open source, all of our patents, so anyone can use this technology. And if there's a company that makes a car better than us in the market and outsells us, that's okay. It's worth it because it's worth it for the environment, is what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, at that time, Elon would have been classified politically wise as a super far left. I don't know about super far, but at least on the left.
He was definitely a stunt Democrat.
So you would say he's on the left, and everybody knew it. And everybody kind of praised his environmental edge and how he was on the left. Now, but for some reason, he was on the left. At the same time, politically wise, you were on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And you could find the genius in Elon Musk. You didn't bash Elon Musk. You didn't hate Elon Musk because he was with the left. And he was, it seemed like vocally with the left. And you didn't hate him. You actually just were like, hey, this guy has some cool stuff. Ishmael, have you seen this? Have you seen what he's doing?
Yeah.
Have you seen? Right?
Yeah. And so when you go back to that point of Tesla and Elon Musk, we had the middle, we had left, we had right.
Okay.
Today we have middle, left, right.
Okay.
The middle has gotten a little wider, but the difference from middle to far left and far right has gotten so divided.
I mean, it has. I mean, I think of things too, because I feel like that was during the Barack Obama time.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been. I think it was. And I mean, I felt like there was still a lot of divide. People were but there is a lot now, 100%. Now, what strikes me, what's nuts to me, is that now that Elon Musk, and before when it was Biden and Obama, both of them were giving him contracts. They were both giving Elon contracts. They were loving Elon. Biden was like, we're doing a whole fleet of cars and things for the government from
But none of them were Tesla.
Elon.
Everybody but Tesla from Biden.
Was it Barack or was it Biden that was saying, we're going to make semis, a fleet of semis that were Tesla semis?
They did start that direction. They said, we're going to start with all of the cars. Trump just dismantled that, but all of our cars, we're going to change the entire federal government fleet to EVs. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's not.
Well, yeah, it's just
we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Will we get there? I think we will. And I think his technology will drive us that direction. Going back to Barack, whom I didn't vote for, but I was so proud that we could elect a man of color in my generation.
Tupac said it would never happen.
Lots of people said it would never happen. But I was really impressed that we could do that. Did I agree with everything he did? No. But that's kind of segues me into this next part.
It's kind of like the John McCain reaction. No, like how John McCain had to stop his crowd and was like, hey, like, y'all are tripping. Like, this is a monumentous, point for America. Like, think about the celebration for America here that we've proven of what we can do here. Like not John McCain politics or John McCain anything else, but just like when he had to calm that crowd down. I don't know if you remembered when he lost, he had to say, look, we lost, but this is a great moment for America. Like, let's support him and move the country forward together.
And I didn't agree with everything he did, but I agreed with a lot of what he did.
Sure.
But when I look at...
You might have agreed with more than me.
So when you go back to Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and you can go back to Ronald Reagan, all three of those past presidents all had the similar mantra of we need to make government smaller. We need to make government smaller, more efficient.
Sure.
I remember no riots.
No.
I remember no destruction.
No.
Trump comes out with it.
Obama cut a lot of people. It was like 300,000 or something. 400,000.
400,000 people. To date, I think Trump's maybe at 50 or 60,000.
He's trying.
Oh, he wants to get to 1 million people, I think.
He's trying.
I mean, I think he'd really like to shrink the federal government by 1 million.
Sure.
But when you look at the stats of how much it grew in the last...
Yeah, Biden put like a million on, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because he's pumping up those jobs.
In the last 18 months of his... Because it helps the jobs numbers.
Sure.
Which it doesn't really help the jobs numbers because we're paying for them.
No, sure, 100%. It's like a Russia thing. It seemed like when I was a kid, the mantra about the Soviet Union was that everyone has a job, right? So it's like there's a door opener and then like a door opener assistant for the door opener. And then there's an elevator person and then like a person that's telling the elevator person how many people are coming into the elevator. And an escalator person that's pushing a button up and down when really it could just be automated the whole time. Yeah, well, right? It's just making jobs to make jobs, even though it doesn't need to be.
To employ people, to make them feel like they're earning something.
Sure.
I kind of understand that. I mean, that's kind of was the New Deal.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Alphabet soup.
But a definite time in the country when we needed that. Well, I don't think we need.
What was an excuse? A big excuse was COVID.
Yeah.
Big excuse was COVID. They shut down the whole country. So they had to bring it back down, build back better, spend a bunch of money, give people jobs.
Yeah.
And money. Free money first, then jobs.
And I don't think we build a very unstable economy.
Well, that's what they say, the inflation and things, you get the free money. And, I'm not an inflation expert, but really quick, so Elon Musk, people are so upset. I'm trying to go back to the point of it's wild to me how all of a sudden the environment doesn't matter to you, right? If you're on the left side, there is not a better American-made, energy-efficient, EV car, right, that is happening other than Tesla in America.
There is not an American brand car that is more made in the United States other than Tesla. That's like 97% of Tesla is built in the United States.
Sure. No, that's crazy. And that's crazy. And then when you add to that is that those people at Tesla, it ain't like they're making pennies on the dollar, right? Tesla people are getting paid good.
Yeah.
Then there are American people doing it. So all of a sudden, you're not for the environment anymore. All of a sudden, you'd rather do a gas car or a hybrid than this all-electric car. Second, you're not for American jobs anymore because all this shit is built in America, or most of it. What the hell is going on? Like, are you that brainwashed to where all of a sudden, just because this guy is supporting a political person that you don't like, now all of his ideas are trash? That's wild to me.
Well, and he only owns 12.8% of the Tesla stock.
Really? Was SpaceX his big boy now?
No, I mean, Tesla.
I'm talking about his wealth. His wealth.
No, it's coming from all of those, but he's the majority shareholder at 12%.
Really?
But
wow.
It was kind of interesting.
I didn't know it was that low.
Yeah, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, who was cheering for Tesla to go broke, I think it was a couple million shares of Tesla, is actually owned by the Minnesota Teachers Retirement Union, which he is the head fiduciary of.
What a dummy.
I mean, he broke laws.
What a dummy.
By doing that.
That's a weird guy. That's been a weird guy.
Yeah.
That's the same dude that says he's a varsity coach and coached some volunteer freshmen, right? I mean, that's the type of guy. Seriously, like somebody says they're like an active duty fighting and really weren't there. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
You can't be that. Anyways.
So
wow.
So
people are really working against their own interest.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways because of their political hate for the attitude of one man.
I'm sure you've seen some of the snippets of people scratching and marking into Tesla cars.
Shit is wild.
Well, the crazy part about it is they've got a camera that initiates on motion, and these people are all getting caught.
It's so stupid.
And some of them are going to get charged with felonies.
Yeah, no, it's stupid because that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I get it. No, it's so stupid. Now, this is the hysteria, right? So I was on Facebook like I am a lot. And this lady, she goes, because of Trump, we're not getting our Social Security supplemental checks, insurance checks, our SSI checks. We're not going to get those in June, and we're not going to get them in October because of Trump. See how much y'all vote messed things up and did that. So, I just did a quick Google search, right? So what happened? So Trump's efficiency shit, they said, hey, it costs us more money and it's harder to put the check out on June 1st because it falls on a certain day. It's going to cost us more money. So for June, we're going to send out, you're going to get a check May 31st. So you're going to get a check May 1st for May and May 31st for June. So, hey, and for October, same thing. We're going to give you a check September 30th or September 31st instead of October 1st. And you're going to check for September 1st. So basically, Trump gave you your money a day earlier and you're on Facebook crying. Like because she read a headline that said, it was a clickbait sensational headline from some bullshit that said, Trump, new policy doesn't give SSI security checks in June. There won't be a thing in June. And then you have to go down to the article to actually read this, like, oh, it's actually a change of schedule. It's going to come a day before. And she went nuts. And then all the people just on the thing she posted are like, yeah, fuck Trump, and all a bunch of hate faces on it and shit. So I just post a screenshot from USA Today showing the new schedule and saying, hey, it's just a schedule change, right? And instead of saying, oh, hey, thanks for the correction. Oh, good. I'm glad now I get it a day earlier. Thanks for helping me with that correction. So now I understand. It was, oh, but he's making it harder now because I have a client that's trying to get Social Security insurance right now, and he can't because it's so much harder, the paperwork that they're making. So in 60 days or 90 days, now they made the paperwork harder is what she claims. How hard is it to get Social Security supplemental insurance when you're trying to sign up? I've heard nothing but the worst stories about people trying to get their, you know what I'm saying, when you're first trying to sign up and do the shit. You have to go through a bunch of shit because they're trying to make sure that you're a valid person that needs this supplemental insurance.
What you've got.
But what I'm saying is she just switched the whole subject. It was no longer on the schedule. She just tried to flip something else and be mad about something else instead of just admitting and acknowledging, oh, it's just a schedule change. Hey, thanks for the clarification, right? That's what was crazy to me is instead of just being okay with the clarification, you're still mad.
Now, I can say that Trump administration is making it harder to get into the Social Security system to get paid because they want to make sure that you are who you say you are. They want to make sure that it's a valid Social Security number that you've paid in, all of those other things, which the Social Security Administration is operating on software that's like 40 years old. We have spent a bunch of money to modernize it, and they're saying it's still 5 years away. Well, now we have these young computer jockeys in there who are knocking this stuff out.
Yeah.
And, the guy that's in charge of that side of it doing that, he's like, they've got some really good people writing the code. He says, I was really impressed with their knowledge. And I think they can do this a lot faster if we just get rid of all of the bureaucracy of the meetings and all of the BS around the whys.
Just let them get to work.
Let them get to work. Let them hit the objectives and not slow them down in bureaucracy because somebody wants to take credit for something.
That's the thing. Everybody wants a little pat on the back. So that's what I'm saying. It's just so hard for people who have a team right now to see, I think, clearly from either side, right? Clearly. And I mean, that I feel like can transition a little bit into DEI on the other side, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion. Now,
what does that remind you of that we put laws on the books for in the 60s?
What do you mean?
It's anti-discrimination. Why did we have to come up with something new for anti-discrimination?
Well, I would say because clearly, if you make a law for anti-discrimination, let's say you made the law 1954 Brown versus Board of Education, right? Why in 1966 was Ruby Bridges had to have the National Guard getting her into a school in Arkansas when it was federally the law and the law was on the books and it was changed, but you had people literally trying to poison her sandwiches. Grown women spitting at her when she's going into school, saying, I'm going to hang you, N-word, right? Mm-hmm. Grown women. I've seen the faces of these women and I've watched the videos because I go to museums where these are at. For example, in Topeka, Kansas at the Brown versus Board of Education site. And you see this and you say, damn, that was 1954. Why 12 years later does the National Guard have to walk this black girl into a white school that's supposed to be desegregated? And why you need extra laws is because racists don't care. Criminals don't care if there's a law. If you say no guns, does a criminal care? No. And it's hard sometimes to understand that because if you're not a criminal, right, you abide by the law. And you're like, oh, I can't have a gun here. I'm not going to have a gun here, right? Like if you can't have a gun in the school, you don't walk in school with a gun. The criminal's like, shit, I'm going to walk in school with a gun.
Yeah, because nobody else got one.
Now, if you're not a racist, it may be hard to understand like, shit, why do we need extra laws? But see, a racist is not paying attention to laws. Matter of fact, while Brown versus Board of Education wins, you have Bull Connor, governor of a state, saying segregation what? Before segregation, now segregation forever, even though it's the federal law that it's supposed to be not, right? So that's why that's why there was needed more help, right? If you're losing a war, you send in more reinforcements, unless you want to just, pull out.
And my point is we had all the affirmative action stuff in place, which basically covered race, it covered religion. It probably didn't cover gender as well, but I'm still in the court of there's only two genders.
Well, so here's a really cool thing. And with affirmative action, and a lot of times DEI, because it was an extension of these programs and an add-on to them, they kind of get lumped together. But when it comes to affirmative action, DEI programs and equal pay programs, 6, like if you go, if there's 10 pieces of pie, 6 pieces go to white women first. Then you have brown folks or Asians, or, they call them, what do they call them? Yellow back in the day. Crazy. So the Asian folks, which, isn't crazy. Sometimes it was like the yellow pride people, whatever. Anyways, so the Asian folks, then you have the LGBTQ, right? And then finally get to black folks. And why I say that, why I even bring it up, is because these original big, huge civil rights movements were really black rights movements, right? That were supposed to try to make up for years and years of, segregation, Jim Crow, slavery, all those things. But just like really quick, there was the Mexican American movements. There was, with Cesar Chavez, and there was the American Indian movement, right, with many Native American tribes and the Lakota and things like that. But the black movement was like the civil rights movement, but it wasn't called like the black movement. Yeah. It's always like the civil rights movement. So what I'm saying is, so many times it feels like people just automatically think that DEI means black people just get in a pathway, but it's like so encompassing of so many things. So that's why it's so hard to me.
It's really hard to me because to me, they DEI hijacked all the affirmative action laws. And so we added a whole bunch of other laws. Instead of rewriting a law, we added to it. Mm-hmm. And that's the same problem with our tax code, which started off to be really small and then went to a book this size, and then it went to a book size, then it went to the books. Mm-hmm. We keep adding to it. And, they're screaming about Trump using a law that was back in the, 1500s, 1800s? I don't remember when it was even, with the deportation thing. Mm-hmm. Well, why didn't you take that off the books?
Sure. Well, because they don't care.
Exactly.
No, they don't care. But so I think what really bothers me
I think the answer is there's far too many lawyers that are in Congress and not enough common folks in there to keep things straight.
Sure. And people, again, 100%, I agree with that. And I think that people just, at the end of the day, who are making laws just don't really care. But really quick, I think what really bothers me about the DEI thing personally is a lot of times it's also a perception that DEI means that we're just going to give an unqualified black person a job, or unqualified person, meaning they're going to say this. They're going to say, hey, like, I don't care. He's white. He's black. He's more qualified as the white guy. We're just going to give the black guy who's less qualified the job. And what I take issue with that is I think it just continues that superiority complex of there's not a talented black guy to do it. And what I mean by that is I think, like, for example, right, like homegirl, let's just take Biden's press secretary and Trump's new press secretary, right? So Biden's press secretary was, I guess, the first black, maybe openly gay woman or some shit. And she made it a big deal, I guess. Like, she said it once, like, I'm proud to represent this demographic for the first time here as the president's press secretary and all this and all this. And then so outwardly, Republican lawmakers, pundits, and even the new press secretary basically called her a DEI hire, meaning she's not qualified, like a DEI hire. Like, when you say that, it's like, oh, a DEI hire. Like, it's because they're DEI, they're not qualified. And really quick, it's just, I think that, and I like to make this a thing. I have one graphic. Really quick. Her name is Karine Jean-Pierre. And I'm gonna be honest, right? I don't really like even listening to this lady talk. Politically, I align nothing with her.
But I thought she did a really good job in a really tough job.
Sure. It's a tough job, but I'm gonna be honest, I just don't really personally, I don't like that. And I'm not saying like I hate her or anything like that, right? I don't have nothing personally against her, but like, I just don't like her. Like, I'm not a fan of her, right? Okay. But really quick, she went to New York Institute of Technology, got her bachelor's of science. Then she went to Columbia University for her master's in public administration. She's been a lecturer in international and public affairs at Columbia University. Like, you call it the top of the top, cream of the crop, whatever. It's hard to get into Columbia. Even if you're black and they're letting in a certain amount of black people, you still have to have the best grades. You have to be the best of the best of the best of the best. And I won't start on what it means to be the best of the best, because when you're black, you're racing, you have to be twice as good. And I promise you that is in that mentality. But regional political director for the White House Office of Political Affairs, deputy campaign manager for him, senior advisor to Joe Biden, 2020 president campaign. She's fluent in French, English, and Haitian Creole, and it just keeps them going on. Now the new lady, Carolyn, she went to St. Anselm College on a sophomore scholarship, so she played sports too. No master's degree. She was Trump's assistant and a MAGA spokesperson. She wasn't a campaign senior advisor. She's not an international lecturer, not a current affairs specialist. She's a Fox News intern. I'm not going to get into what they try to hate on her for, like law-wise, that she broke some laws and stuff. I'm not going to get into all that. But I bet if that black lady broke some laws, it'd be a big, big deal, right? So, but what I'm saying is I just say that to just say that there's literal real people, real grown people saying, oh, she was a DEI hire, as if it was a negative thing, when if you were to pull those resumes up side to side and you didn't know anything about them but just those resumes, who would you choose?
Yeah.
Obviously, what's her name? The Jean-Pierre, yeah. Right?
Corinne.
So that's what really, I think, sometimes makes me very upset, is that perception that because America was so racist that you couldn't even put your name on to be a supervisor when you're at the, the assembly line, that we had to put even more laws in place. And we have these very talented black people or whatever get into a space, then it's assumed that they aren't as good. That's what I really don't like about the narrative sometimes.
So what made the narrative, I think, really bad for many of Biden's appointees was when he said, Supreme Court justice, I'm going to appoint a black woman.
Yeah, only a black woman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he took this broad swath and narrowed it down. This is all I'm going to hire.
Sure.
I don't agree with that. And I don't agree with hiring quotas. I mean, Elon Musk got in trouble, was being sued by the DOJ for not hiring immigrants that were there not legally. They didn't have green cards. They didn't have that type of qualifications.
Sure.
For not hiring them. Although his contract with the federal government was, you can't hire those people because they can steal your technology and take it to another country.
Sure.
But he gets sued for not hiring them. And at the same time, his contract, which probably came from the original, maybe back to Obama, maybe Trump, had those clauses in there. You can't hire these folks.
Sure, it was anti-immigration.
Well, they said it was anti-immigration.
Or illegal immigration.
Yeah. But his point was, you're telling me I need to hire these people, but the contract says I can't because of all the intellectual property that they can take, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Sure.
So.
And I definitely understand that, right?
Yeah.
Huge, 100%. Like there's a whole bunch of abuses. Yeah. Right? Of course. But, and I think though, at the very end of it is, like a lot of times we talk about nepotism, right? And everybody always talks about it like a bad thing. I try to hype it up sometimes. But meaning that, how they say the apple doesn't fall from, or the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree or whatnot. But if you keep the same type of leadership in a position over and over and over again, and you have racist practices, it's very hard to ever change that. Now, I feel like we have a choice here, right? Are we the country that says that we are morally going to do the right thing and make people not be racist? Or are we going to say, F it, and just, and it's, laissez-faire. Everybody can do what they want. Or should there be a good middle ground where it's like you literally can't, like what was happening still in the 60s and 70s is people were literally getting beaten for trying to put their name up on trying to get to be a supervisor.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, these are the things that are why this had to stem from that. Now, is that a legitimate thing? What I mean is private business, right? Let's say you're a private business. Should you be able to just say, no, I'm not going to have any black supervisors?
I think that if you are limiting yourself, if I'm in North Omaha and I limit myself that I'm not going to hire any black people, I'm not going to have everybody working for me. If I'm in inner city Atlanta,
No, any black higher up or any black supervisors. Like, it's cool to have a whole bunch of,
supervisor or employee at all, because there was
But it
companies
makes
that
it-
absolutely
sure.
wouldn't hire.
No, 100%.
And so some of it is like demographic. So like if I was in Rock County, Nebraska, and they said you have to have 20% of your workforce has to be DEI. Well, I don't know if there's a black person that lives, maybe one in the entire county of Rock County. So it's really difficult to make that happen.
Don't you think those things are per capita?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know either.
I just pulled this up. So Tesla's workforce, 79% male, 21% female. Leadership, directors and above, 83% male, 17% female. Women represent 23% of all promotions, a 5% increase from prior year. I don't know, this year must have been 2020, so it's been a while ago. Race, 34% white in the overall workforce, 59% in leadership.
59% leadership.
Black and African American, 10% of the workforce, 4% in leadership. So 40% of them in that versus 20%, 25%. Asian, 21% in the workforce, 25% in leadership. Hispanic, 22% in the workforce, 4% in leadership. Additional, which is a whole bunch of Native groups, 7% of the workforce. So pretty diverse. I don't know if that would match up in where he was at in California
No,
at that point.
of course not.
Well, but
No. I'm sorry. I'm just saying from what I know in California.
I'm saying in Palo Alto.
Statewise, I don't know where it was. I don't know
Palo
where it was.
Alto was where his.
Was where he was.
Yeah,
How far is that from anywhere like LA or something? Like I don't know California.
it's a long
very-
ways. I mean,
long ways.
Palo Alto is where all the big tech people are at. So it's like really, really expensive to live there, and it's a long commute for somebody to be able to afford to drive there.
Yeah.
It's probably like a 2-hour commute from reasonable housing. Probably
Something
not even
like that.
affordable, but just reasonable.
And now he's in Texas, ain't
Yeah.
he? Texas.
Southern
again,
Texas.
Which again, too, I wonder. So, but I think and again, I just think that people just have a lot of things misconstrued when it comes to what actually DEI actually is doing. Because I think that sometimes people think that literally it just means you're giving people not qualified a job just to give them a job.
Well, Biden had kind of came out with quotas. And if you didn't have DEI directional in your hiring, then you were ineligible for federal stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of quotas. I think quotas are ridiculous. I believe in hiring the best person for the job.
And that works when you're not racist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the almighty factor.
Yeah.
Like it just works when you're not a racist.
We worked really hard in one of the places I was at
And that's the thing is hate.
in our plant to get some black folks to work there. It was a drive from the larger city to the smaller town. And the whole thing was, for me, was if we could get one or two that are successful, we tap into a whole workforce of others. Because
Sure.
nobody wants to be the only
Yeah.
black person working in a facility.
Sure.
Nobody likes it. It's the same thing if you're Hispanic
Yeah.
or if you're the only woman or nobody wants to be a one.
And what I'm saying is, DEI programs, they weren't constructed for Linwell,
No.
right? Because Linwood isn't racist. Like, what I mean is, like, if you guys are actively trying to go find black folks, it's like, that's not the racist people we're talking about.
No.
We're talking about the people that literally, the black guy shows up to your things like, hey, look, I'm a chemist. hey, can I get a start at entry level and work my way up? And you're like, no.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That being said, again, with lots of the things we get here, one moment.
Unfortunately, there's still a lot of racism in our country. And that it's not just racism. There's a larger divide in some areas of the country, race-wise, sex-wise, sexual orientation-wise, religious-wise. When you start looking at the statistics today, there are far and far fewer people going to church. All of those things are, it's sad that we still have it. It's sad that we still have racism. It's sad that we still look down on people for religious reasons or gender reasons.
I really thought that it was going to change in my lifetime to where when I was young, I really thought racism wasn't going to be a thing. I really thought that. I really, really, really thought that.
Well, don't give up on that, because I think we've come a long ways in places. We still have a long ways to go, but I think that's the same thing
we came a long ways.
That's the same thing in almost everything socially. We've come a long ways. We've still got a long ways to go. We still have people sleeping on the streets.
Sure.
We still have people going to bed hungry.
Sure.
We still have a lot of senseless killing. We still have a lot of things. I don't think that we can legislate all of those things right. When I look at our country's history, the first how many years? We had slavery, and then racism continued. And then, as you said,
genocide.
We passed a law that said, hey, we're segregating, schools are now integrated, no more segregation. And 12 years later, we're still fighting that same battle. I mean, I think a lot of this is generational. I mean, I can tell you, my parents and grandparents, my grandparents for damn sure.
They were racist, right?
Extremely.
But then it softened up with your parents.
Got a little better with my parents.
I mean, but it seemed like your mother was just like, I don't know. I would never have thought that your mother ever had a racist bone in her body.
I think she did when she was younger. But that was her parents' influence.
Sure.
And, so a lot of these things are generational.
But what makes that difference from grandparents being super racist to grandkids not being racist compared to where some do stick with that shit?
Well, I think some of it is a product of the environment, a product of the parents supporting different things than what their parents supported. Some of those evolutions have been very good. They've been very quick. Some of them have been very slow and very painful. I think you and Megan had the conversation. I'd have never believed that you would be communicating with my father on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Going back 15 years ago to where we're at today.
Sure.
So some of it is, and I think...
But I never, ever, but that's different. I never perceived that as a race thing. I perceived that as like it's my daughter thing. Like, it's my fucking daughter thing.
It really was, but you could have
still,
construed that any way you wanted to.
Yeah, but it still can be an unfamiliar thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because like even your demographic of where you're coming from, I think socially, demographically, was different from who I was used to conversing with.
Yeah, and from where I came from to where I became to where I was headed in life, those were quite frankly huge generational steps. Big step function change. And I think we have some of those big step function changes that happen. Then I think we have some that it's a backward step.
Sure. Yeah.
Something happens to somebody in their family, physically, emotionally, whatever, and then the racism thing starts all over again.
Well, I think even like a psyop of a mass psyop. I'm talking about mass media psyop. Like I even think about how the George Floyd incident, I think so bad for America when it comes to race relations. So bad for America because there's no in between. It's you either were really like just thought that this was a horrible person that deserved to die, or you thought that this was your Superman or your Black Panther type, figure, which he was not neither. He was just a human. Of course, humans don't just deserve to die, and it really, I think, brought that. I think it did the same thing that the O.J. Simpson trial did.
Well, Rodney
where it
King.
brought that polarization. Yeah, the Rodney King. And if you look at both those things, O.J. Simpson and the Rodney King, get into the conspiracy of those, and it turns into a Wuhan lab type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like those created so much tension. And then really, when you even get into the conspiracy, whatever, of the media attention that the George Floyd got compared to every other killing that happens to an unarmed person, whether black or white, it's wild how that media attention went and just took storm.
Well, even today, if a white person kills a white person or a black person kills a black person, it's a blip.
Sure.
It's a blip.
Nobody cares.
No. If it's cross-racial, holy shit,
You're
man,
right.
It's Katie bar the door.
Right.
Doesn't matter which way it is.
You're right. It's huge.
It's huge.
Huge. It is huge.
And why is it huge?
It's literally it makes money. It's literally what we've been side off to. Like, we think it's huge.
Media.
It sucks. No, media. And I even look for it, which sucks. It's like, oh, you saw this happen. It's like, what race are they? Like, why? You know, it's wild. You know, and sometimes I hate it because you're like hoping that it's not. I think from my standpoint, a lot of times you're hoping it's not a black person. Like, what I mean is, like, there's a crime happen or something, like, please don't let them be black. Please don't let them be black. Because I feel like it just puts a stain on, like, everything black. To where I think sometimes, like, white people don't have that type of, that immense pressure. To where, like, one, now with this George Floyd thing, it tried to bring it there. To where, like, hey, that cop did that, so, like, everybody's bad and every cop is bad.
Every cop is bad.
You know, every cop's bad. Now, like, they got a little taste, I feel like, which is not a taste I want somebody to have, don't get me wrong, right? But I feel like I got a little taste of, like, every time somebody black does something, it's like, it speaks and represents the wholeness of black people. And it's like, fuck.
But the crazy part about it, though, was black cops were getting just as bad a raps out of it as white cops because they were cops.
Sure.
I mean,
It's like you were with the traitors.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
It's stupid.
No, well, and I even said, even with me trying to work with government and cops to bring just open dialogue, better policies, I was hated on by my own family. And hilariously as well, I told you, remember, because the cops and the people were dancing, and he put the little thing, he put the emoji, it was a zombie Michael Jackson. And he said, doing Thriller with your killer. Oh, it was great comedy. It was timing was marvelous. But what I mean is, like, even I caught flack for trying to, and a lot of flack for trying to bring people together, both sides.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a death threat from these racist folks that said they were going to come by the place with the news. Then then the people on live calling me all sorts of things. And then my own, even family members hating on me. And even one of my favorite artists, Ben Jones, he did that one behind the Ishma,
Mm-hmm.
like me, and he did Uncle Malcolm up there, that Uncle Malcolm. He even publicly denounced me and had so much bad things to say about me because I was working with police to try to solve an issue, right? So yeah, it amped up people so hard from both sides.
And you think about,
Which shouldn't be both sides.
even in Nebraska, you know, we have a mutual friend that was going to run for an office
Oh yeah.
and had to change his political affiliation because of pressure.
Not only that, they told him that there was no way he would win. And his friends didn't want to support him anymore. Friends, people that he were like supposed to be his friends, didn't want to support him anymore.
And people that know his heart.
It's crazy. Look, if I was in his district, I would still vote for him, even though he's with a political side that I don't really support. I would still vote because I know him.
I'm going to.
Because I know him. Like, so it's like, but I don't care what's before his name, if it's an R or a D or an I. I don't care. I care about what I know about the man, what he's going to do, the job he's going to do.
I try to research candidates. I mean, I'm a diehard Republican.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't know the two people, I'm going to vote for the R 99% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
But I really try to Google them, read about them, find out their roots, find out what's happening. I don't want to get the talking point postcard and learn from that.
You want the track record.
I want to do some real research on my own to make sure. Because that postcard that I get doesn't tell me much about the person.
Sure. Now, I know it sounds like a poll tax, and I'm not saying we have to get into this, but man, how cool would it be if there was some type of guidelines to voting? Like you had to display some type of understanding about one of the two people. For example, like the judges. I think how we vote for judges is utterly ridiculous, right? People say yes or no on a judge. They have no fucking idea about the judge.
And I can tell you from my perspective, unless I know the judge, and I know several judges, unless I know them, I always vote to not retain them.
To not retain. You just like get some new blood in there. Just get some new blood. Why not? Just get some new blood. Now, if you're from Lincoln, Lancaster County, okay, and you're like my age or older, if you're older or my age, you're going to know Judge Foster. Everybody voted for Judge Foster. If you're Black, you voted for Judge Foster. Judge Foster was like the fairest person who really cared about people. Shout out to Judge Foster. He looked like Jerry Springer. Like dead on Jerry Springer. I'm not kidding. He looked dead on Jerry Springer. Really quick story about Judge Foster. He knew my father for years. And my father, I forget something. I don't know what it was. Maybe driving a suspension, maybe, some stupid shit. And he had, so he had to spend, he was in jail. So he had to bond out. And then he could go to Judge Foster and say, hey, Judge, can you write a letter so I can get my bond right now? Because the judge can give your bond back right away. And then just, say, you sign your name, like you're going to come back. This is before they were even doing that shit like regularly, right? And so if the judge has a relationship with you and knows you, he'll do that for you. And so he gave my dad back the $300 or something like that. And then I remember when court was coming around, my dad was like so serious about like, I got to get to court. Because Judge Foster put his neck up for him. I got to get to court, And it was like people respected Judge Foster.
Yeah.
Which is a cool thing. Like that's how the law kind of should go, right? Like you know the morals of a person. You give him that. It's kind of like the Ben Cartwright thing, right? Like you give him the grace and then people do right by you just because,
they want to.
They want to be honorable to you.
Which
he's an honorable judge. He was an honorable judge, I thought.
Which is, some of the problems with society and people chronically breaking the same laws or doing the same things and expecting different outcomes. I mean, it's kind of, I voted for Trump. This is, in my lifetime, this is the fourth time where a president, in my lifetime that I've been old enough to remember, this is the fourth time a president said, we've got to cut federal spending. We don't have an income problem. We have a spending problem.
A spending problem.
We got to cut this back. And because of that, I'm willing to give Trump a pretty long leash. Now, is it going to hurt some people that are getting laid off, losing their jobs? Absolutely. I've been that person before. I've been laid off. The 80s, man. I was out of high school in the 80s. The jobs were tough. Is it going to hurt some? Absolutely. But if we don't get this spending under control soon, we're going to be in trouble. And it's taken us really 25, 30 years to get this spending so far out of control that if we don't start getting it back, it's going to take us a whole generation to get it back down.
Yeah.
And we've got to improve GDP, and we got to quit borrowing $2 trillion every year.
Now, that's huge. Now, look, I want to get into some more stuff on that, but I want to round out really quick this DEI on this thought here is how do we say we want to not allow just blatant racism, right? Where's that balance between not allowing racism and allowing a person to come and, get the job they deserve rather than saying you have to have a trans person and a gay person and a Black person and a Hispanic person and an Asian person and a this person and a that person, right? Like that's, I think, where it's the two polar opposites where it's like, I think we're asking for, and what we were asking for at the beginning was, hey, just don't discriminate when the best person is coming up for it or give everybody a damn interview, right? And then also, and don't be legacy with it always. But then I feel like there is the hijacking side where it's like, no, you have to have this representation and this representation and this representation and this representation. And then it just gets into a clusterfuck of like, how do you manage that? But at the same time, then how do you not just say, okay, well, to where it's like, okay, well, there's laissez-faire completely. You don't have to ever advance a Black person.
I mean, to me, that's why we have HR departments in companies, especially in larger companies. That's why they have an HR department. And that HR department has to make sure that leadership in hiring is doing it without any prejudice.
Yeah. And there's smart ways to try to get that in.
Yeah.
To really try to build that. And a lot of it can go just to metrics. And I know there's ways to do it, but
it's education, and it's making sure that you're hiring for the position, not and the position, it's all the above. I mean, you got to hire somebody that knows all their stuff. You got to hire somebody that's going to fit somewhat culturally. On the edges of your culture is great to me because that expands your culture.
Sure.
And that's a bonus.
Sure.
From a business perspective.
I mean, culturally can be something like they have honesty values.
Yeah.
Or like culturally can be like, they have strong family values or, things like that, right? It doesn't have to be like they sit and pray the same way as you, right? That's that fringe thing where it's like, hey, we can find these things, right? Yeah. That encompass it without them being exactly like you.
It's all of those things that cost nothing. It costs nothing to be on time. It costs nothing to show up presentable. There's so many things that cost zero for the job interview, to do the job, all those things. But people get hung up on not doing those.
Yeah.
I admire companies that don't have time clocks. Nobody clocks in and out. This is the work you got to get done. These are the expectations.
Yeah.
If you're not hitting those, and we have cameras, we can tell when you came in.
Yeah.
If you're not hitting those, well, you didn't hit this because you only worked 6 hours today.
Sure.
It's pretty obvious why you didn't hit it.
Yeah. No, I definitely dig it.
The time study says this is an 8-hour job and you only worked 6, so you didn't get there. You hurt not just yourself, but you hurt the entire company.
Yeah, the team, and letting them know.
Those are the culture things to me that are important.
Sure. And those are just like the hard work things.
Not the guy that goes to the same church as me, or the guy that drives the same brand of car as me,
or like eats the same.
Yeah, eats the same, or dresses the same, or anything.
All that. So then one last little caveat is, and we're in the future. I think I sent you this thing where the brother, I forget what his name was, but he was talking about the future of America. And he explained that when you're doing away with some of this DEI stuff in these type of ways, right? When you're just totally throwing it out the door, instead of selectively finding what's wrong with how we're doing things, maybe, that what you're doing is you're just essentially throwing out the R&D for the country. Because when he says demographically wise, the white male thing, first off, but then just the white person like that, just the kind of complete Anglo-Saxon, whatever, in America, is already the minority when you just put together all the different colored people. But then when you look into 2030, 2040, it gets real. These numbers just get overwhelmingly black and brown, like overwhelmingly. And what he's saying is if we're not investing in our higher education and in the vocational education and then in the progressing of these higher wage jobs, whether they're supervisor or manager or C-level suite, right? Then the R&D, we're creating and keeping an impoverished class, which is going to be the majority.
Yeah.
And that's not sustainable for anything, right? Because if they're not paying enough taxes, they're not paying into social security systems, they're not gaining equity and making neighborhoods better, houses better, things better, the country goes Rome very fast.
And you look at, we were talking about historic versus today. From 1950 to today, 75 years. Mm-hmm. How many mixed race marriages are there today versus then? A ton.
A whole bunch.
How many mixed raced people are there today? A whole bunch. So,
but most time those mixed race people are categorized as black, like in the census.
Yeah. Well, and some of them check that box. Some of them don't.
And for a long time, there was no other, like there wasn't a mixed race joint. Like you just had to pick black. Everybody I know that's mixed. Okay, sorry. 9 out of 10. Let's go 99 out of, let's say 90 out of 10.
Yeah.
Or 90 out of 100. Identify black.
Yeah. But when you look at that, that's the cultural changing that we're going through. Mm-hmm. I mean, Ishmael, you're mixed. Mm-hmm. You're 50-50.
Yeah. Until I get pulled over.
Yeah. Well, until they see you.
Yeah. All that good stuff. But yeah.
Your kids are 25%. Mm-hmm. Maybe would somebody meeting them would think that maybe they're Hispanic.
The girls are black, especially when they have braids.
Yeah.
Lana's always usually black. Naja's black when she has braids.
Yep. And
Ishma's white.
Yeah. I mean,
like when people see him.
When you look at him.
Perception.
Yeah.
And TC got swag.
Maybe Italian.
Until he starts walking and talking. That's a stupid thing to say, but it's like, that's what people say.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I think that will continue.
Yes, but does that, what I'm saying, the thing that, and 100%, like, and I think that's the social part of it, to where like there's so much less racism because of so much mixture, right? Like, how can you hate someone that's like here? I mean, you can, but it's just so much tougher to hate your peoples, right?
Yeah.
But still, are those black people and those mixed race, couples, kids, whatever, they're like, when I'm working with, let's say, the population in Lancaster County that's black, right? It's including mixed race kids. And when it's the poverty is the same, when it's the, the discrepancy of how they're getting thrown out of school compared to the white counterparts for the same thing, it's the same. Those are the problems. Those are the things that I'm still afraid of, is like the lack of home ownership. It's like the same. Now, here's what's really crazy and what's crazy effed up, all this. And then when you look at 1950 stats and you look at the discrepancy in household income and household wealth, black to white, from 50s to now, it's grown. Home ownership, grown. Business ownership, grown. Like, that's the disturbing part.
How many of those black and brown kids grow up in a home without a father?
100%. A whole bunch after the Ronald Reagan. Like the welfare things. Hey, you can't have the man in the house. A whole bunch of the war on drugs. But 100%. And then the civil rights movement in general, everything that sounds good still has some negative effects too, right? It did a whole bunch of crazy things for black business, a lot of crazy things for different types of black jobs. So 100%, there's so many different factors. And I mean, we could have a whole, week of podcast about all the factors, right? But what are we going to do now if we're really looking at the future of the country? And this isn't about just like the racial thing, because it's not like we have to like save black people here. That's not what I'm talking about. It's how do we save America when these discrepancies are so evident? And if those trends continue, we have an impoverished country.
So we have to, I believe, quit talking about all of the stuff nationally. Let people communicate. Let states handle some of those things. And if they get out of hand, federal government can pull them back in.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start mandating specific things, when you try to put everybody in the same box, it don't work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody's different size, shapes, and everything else.
They are.
But when you get to a local perspective, things are much better than in a national perspective. And I'm sure you saw in the Bernie and AOC rally in Colorado, I think there was like 30,000 people there. 80% of them have been to multiple Democratic rallies. Uh-huh. They pinged it from their phones.
Sure.
To know where they were at.
Sure.
And they made it sound like it was a whole new group. Well, it really wasn't a whole new group.
It's the base.
It's the same people. It's the same base.
It's the base.
And the traveling base. I mean, today there seems to be a big traveling base, not just Democratic, but Republican. It's like that's a whole other job opportunity for somebody to go rally on this.
And bring people,
And I don't understand that. But
well, we talked about this really quick, and this is a little caveat of that, because I was personal witness to people, special interest groups, paying to get out-of-state people, busing them in by the hundreds to go and make support in a city or a state that's having an election. And they hold up signs and make it sound like they have these big crowds. And in this case, it was a demographic place that didn't have a lot of, I think that in Omaha, black people, I forget, is it 10%, 12%?
Yeah, something like that.
And they brought in all black people to show support to an independent that was really a Democrat to make it look like a bunch of black people were supporting him.
Well, no
That
different.
shit was crazy.
No different than some of the photo jacked, putting a bunch of people in a crowd
Sure.
that, they were recording this speech. Well, that's not what was on their screen.
Sure.
They were all photoshopped in. I mean,
But how much money, think about the money you're spending to rent vans, bringing people from out of state, pay them hourly, put them in hotels. That is an immense amount of money just to have them on street signs, holding up signs, acting like they're supporting this. And they're not even from the state. And this is a statewide election. And they're not even from the state. This shit was nuts.
Wisconsin just happened. I mean, it's this inner power struggle is getting crazy politically. I think, go back in history, people that were presidents, congressmen, senators were all folks that had some level of success.
Mm-hmm.
They were at their end of their working career. They wanted to go serve as a civil servant for 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, and move on.
That's where you get back to term limits.
Exactly. If we don't get some of the money out of politics,
Yeah.
and term limits,
Yeah.
we're screwed.
So look, okay, cool transition. Trump wants a third term.
No way.
You think that's not a good thing?
I don't know. No.
I mean, he said, there's different ways he could do it and different ways he can get around it. Now, here's my thing. I think this is one of the ways, this is one of the things I think we differ on. And I understand and I recognize and I totally respect the potential. It's all right. The potential and the real problem that we have with the term limits of people just career politicians and they get fat rich and all that. But I'm also the type person, like, for example, a lot of people want even term limits for the Supreme Court now, right? Now, like, I'm a guy like Thurgood Marshall. There's not a better lawyer or justice you're going to find than Thurgood Marshall. I want him there for life, right? So, like, if Thurgood Marshall could be the president, like, I'd want him there for life. Like, I'd take 4 terms of Thurgood Marshall. So what I'm saying is if Trump does that good of a job, right? And I didn't vote for Trump, but I'm just saying, if he did that good of a job, why is it wrong to have him doing the good job? People keep voting for him.
Because we put in a constitutional amendment that said 2 terms.
He's got to live by the Constitution. But what if the Constitution's wrong, which it is sometimes?
It is, but this was...
And it has to be amended again.
It would have to be amended. I mean, to me, the Constitution would have to be amended.
Like 70% of the Congress, whatever, have to come together and say, hey, look, we got to do this.
It's either...
66% or 70%?
Yeah, it's a large number of Congress.
Two-thirds, isn't it? It's two-thirds have to.
Two-thirds of Congress or a convention of states, and 70% of the states have to do it. We haven't had a convention of states in a long, long time.
I was thinking, like, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, you have to Google that. That's a really interesting...
That's a back in the day shit.
Interesting vibe.
Hey, what happened? The governors get together or what?
Yeah, and basically it's state representatives and states.
Could you imagine governors getting together and agreeing on something like that? 70% of governors, like today. Could you imagine 70% of governors today? That would be nuts.
But I just don't think we should have that. And I think, my personal thought is...
It's more safe your way.
Trump is pushing, hey, this third term, this could happen. And I think he's waiting for somebody to scream about term limits. Mm-hmm. And he can say, you're right. We have term limits. And in fact, we need to put a bill in place so there's term limits for the Congress and Senate too.
You think so?
You're right. So let's put that out there. And let's make that a vote of the people. Mm-hmm. A vote of the people across the entire country for both of them.
How do you do that? Like, is there a...
National election.
No, what I'm saying, is there a executive order he can do to say we have to have a national election on an issue like that?
No, I just think it takes enough people to sign petitions to make it happen.
Really? I mean, I think a lot of people want term limits, right? I think I'm in the minority of thinking that I would like a good person there.
But if we don't do term limits,
but there's never a good person, is what I'm saying. Like, there's never a good person to keep going.
Somebody always gets corrupted.
Sure.
I mean, we're human.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You give me enough of something and I get addicted to it.
Sure.
Power, money, drugs.
I just got addicted to caffeine.
Yeah.
I'm on the caffeine hook now.
That's not good, Ish.
I know. But I'm there.
But when you look at those things, I think that's why we have to have term limits. The whole DEI thing, again, I'm okay with all of that, and I'm okay with affirmative action, but I do not agree with us having to have X qualifications. I don't think we should have to have definites. This many people have to be this many people have to be that, because it doesn't fit demographics everywhere.
It stopped being the race thing so much to where
They hijacked it.
Yeah, I think when it got to be like you have to have a transgender person read to your kid in kindergarten or something, right? Like you had to sexualize kindergarten, or you had to have like books talking about anal sex in second grade or some shit. That's where I think also it opened the doors for the whole house to come crashing down.
When they were talking about it, adults things, people were like, yeah, whatever. Like adults can do adult shit. When you start forcing it on my kids, I got a problem with that.
So let me give you one other example really quick. My brother talks about this, my brother Darwin. He says, look, when he was at University of Nebraska, there was a Black Cultural Center, right? It was a Black Historical Center, and it was a little small thing across the street from the Union. And it was made for, Black caucus, Black students, shit like that. And the Cultural Center was always trying to say, hey, let's just merge and do this big Cultural Center thing. So we'd have all the Cultural Centers, like the Asian, the Hispanic, the gay, lesbian thing, Let's put these all together, right? And then as they went ahead and linked on with them to do different things and to get different funding, then they lost their Black Cultural Center and then just had to integrate with everything else. And what I mean by that, I think that's one of the examples of what continues to happen when I'm specifically talking about Black people here. When we have a movement, we have something that's trying to get us past these crazy ills from back in the day that were based upon race. And then we allow the mission of trying to get equality there for Black folks be hijacked, as you would say, by all these other
just like
social programs.
Woke was hijacked.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's why I think it really kind of kills the whole movement. And that's why it's so easy to infiltrate. What I mean is like a whole state can say, we're not going to teach Black history AP classes that are funded by the state because it has a whole section of queer theory, right? When like that's not like, so now you don't learn about Ruby Bridges because you have to learn about queer theory. Now, let me add one more thing to that. A lot of people are really upset about Trump threatening the funding to the African American Museum in DC. And I've heard a lot of different opinions on this. One person was pointing out how he was saying it's racially divisive. They gave one example where they said, there's like in some exhibit, and I haven't been there. I need to hurry up and get there so I can have a real opinion, okay? But they said that there's like this exhibit that says, like the nuclear family was an Anglo-Saxon construct of like man and wife and a kid, right? Where then it's like, that's crazy. Like there's empires of kingdoms of
all races.
But I mean, if you go back to Africa, like very specific man rituals, woman rituals for the and then their children, right? And chief, there's a mother and a father and a whole thing. There's lots of patriarchy systems too in Africa where they had, the chiefs or the people where the kings were men and it filtered down. There's so many different varieties, right? And I guess what they're saying is creating this construct that Black people can't have it wasn't natural for Black people to have a nuclear family. Or, so there's little things like that I've heard where it's like, hey, no, this is divisive. We can't say that this is happening. This is what we're funding is essentially kind of the psyop saying these things. Now, from the other side, we went to the Field Museum and they have like a exhibit that does depict slavery. And there was this exhibit where you could sit or you could stand on a selling block, on an auction block. And what they do is they encourage a family, say we all went, then they would encourage you all to go stand against the auction block. And this audio comes on and, it's lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, lot 4, it's your family. And the auctioneer comes on and he starts selling you. And you hear people auctioning off and he's like, okay, It tells you to have like the dad in here, the mom in here, kids in here, whatever. And you see yourself get auctioned off and sold to different places, hundreds of miles away and things like that, right? And so it's like
Some of them,
like these are real things in history. And I remember standing there going through that, and you got to live a little bit of that fear, anxiety of that worst thing you could ever think about, right? And so what I'm saying is, I think, of course, there's some useful and very good exhibits there that I haven't seen maybe, right, that are happening. And then I'm sure there's some psyop shit there as well that are doing like, hey, black people weren't having nuclear families or this is a white construct, right? Which is weird. So, I mean, what I'm saying is we leave, as black people, I think that one of the faults we've had, we leave so much open. We leave the door open to be picked apart so much because sometimes we don't just stick to like black advancement. Instead, we're trying to spread ourselves too thin and take over, every single issue.
to me, history is important and we can always learn from history. But forward's what's important. We can always learn from history to not make those same mistakes. And I think it's important that everybody understands those mistakes and
maybe understands why we are where we are.
Yeah. And the problem is all of a sudden now we want to teach something completely different that maybe wasn't even a thing ever before. Gender. How many genders are there? Well, it depends on who you ask today. Same thing happens in the hijack of who's telling the story of to what the reality is. It's happened from slavery. It's happened, everything in our history has been shifted for a narrative. And I don't like that. George Washington, great example.
Okay.
George Washington and a huge percent of white people in Virginia owned slaves then. There was black people that owned slaves. George Washington was still the first president. He did some really good things for our country. Was he wrong at the time? No. Is he wrong looking back? Absolutely. He had a horrible...
So this is really quick. Like, I have to jump in.
I know.
Because I have to.
I'm hitting a nerve.
I have to. No. Because 5% of the country owned slaves. Less than 5%. Even in the Deep South. Less than 5%. Abolition was on and a cracking and a huge thing. It was literally on and cracking. Since Francis Scott Key, he was going against abolitionists, trying to censor them and stop them. So I think that when people say, like, was he wrong back then? No, I think that's bullcrap because he was wrong back then. Only 5% of the people were engaging what he did. And then again, I think that, and I know there's, people try to throw the anomalies, right? What I mean is the LeBron James of slave owners. What I mean by that, like the black slave owners, like literally, like there's a 0.1% of players that are LeBron James, right? Same thing with black slave owners. There was a 0.1%, like it happened and it makes it a big thing. It was not a
That were white slaves
big,
too. I mean, it's the same thing. It's a
but no, there weren't
part.
white slaves. Again, we have to recognize, like the Irish people that came over, indentured servants, they would pay a certain amount of years, and you could not be born into slavery. So if you're a white person, you weren't born into slavery. I mean, if your father or mother were a slave, you weren't a slave as a white kid
In the United States.
Yes, and we're talking about United States here. But yeah, 100% over periods, there were totally different types of slavery. We know thousands of years. Nothing like chattel slavery in America.
No.
There was, I think, and I hate playing the evils of evils, worse slavery in Tanzania and places that I've seen with the Arab slave trade. That was, I don't want to get.
I think it's still there.
Whew.
I think the child slavery thing's still
100%.
alive and well around the world, which is sick and wrong.
Sure. Oh, and even in sweatshops here. Oh, yeah. No, 100%. But really quick though, but that's one of the things where, and I think I know where we're going a little bit, but what I'm saying is, I do think that even back then, people knew how horribly horrible slavery was. And there's a lot of people against it. So I don't give people like that a pass. Like what I'm saying is Germans in Germany, like Nazis, like what they were doing at the time, was it wrong to the Germans? No. Was it wrong to the Italians? No. But was it wrong?
Yes.
Yes. Right. But at that time, did a whole bunch of other people think it was wrong too? Yes. Right. But there was a segment that let shit happen. But so I wouldn't call, and I just had to jump in just because, what I'm saying? So, but I think that's the problem with history. And I do, and I'll be real with it, right? That's the problem with history because at the same time there's George Washington, there are other amazing people. You could call it Benjamin Franklin. You can call somebody else that are admirable, that are in the government, that are white guys, whatever, that are against slavery, that are doing the right thing, that are living morally, that aren't raping little girls. But that's what I mean. Like the same way right now, there's like Puff Daddy, right? Or excuse me, P. Diddy.
P. Diddy.
And I know it's Puff Daddy, but Puffy. But anyways, in this Hollywood bullshit, there's a culture of like raping people. And there's even a deep, really gross culture of raping kids and of some other shit, right? There's some whole bunch of crazy shit from the Weinsteins to some other crazy shit, right? But what I'm saying is this, right? In his little center, right? That might have been an okay thing to do, is to abuse people. And that's an okay thing. But what I'm saying is there's a whole bunch of other artists in his realm that aren't doing that are great artists, that are great people. So what I'm saying is 200 years from now, we don't look at Puffy and say, oh, no, it's okay because everybody in Hollywood is doing that. No, we look at Puffy and we say, what do you call it? You could name a whole bunch of artists that aren't doing that. Lupe Fiasco isn't doing that. He doesn't have freak-offs. Actors. Denzel Washington isn't doing that. He isn't at freak-offs. He's with his wife every night. He's doing this. But that's what I mean.
Yeah, so my point of it is history will paint things differently the further we get from the actual thing that happened. That's typically been what's happened. Historically, we don't talk about what we did to the Native Americans and socially how we tried to destroy them.
Sure.
And some people look at that and say they're just lazy. Mm-hmm. They're not lazy. They're very proud people.
Sure.
And they work hard. Our government said, hey, we want to give you this land over here and we're going to give you this much money every month. Mm-hmm. Why? Why would we do that? Why wouldn't we let them have their land, help them with technology, help them with things to prosper? We didn't. We oppressed them just as bad as we did blacks and everything else.
But why?
Why? That's the part that I don't understand why. Well, money.
Whoa, sorry. Remember, I think, I'm just real. I think it's hard for, look, see, people are going to be like, why do you always love him so much? But I do love you. But I think it's hard that people that have a good heart and people that really don't hate people to understand, and who haven't been on that side of that vitriol, right? To understand what goes through it, right? These are hateful people. Just like I think it's really hard for people to believe that doctors aren't as knowledgeable on vaccines as they think they are, or that people like Fauci wasn't actively killing people, knew about it, and was just making money off of it and continued. Whether it's the what's it called? The Resdividol or Respirol? I forget what the fucking shit he was given for COVID, or whether it was way back in the day what he was given for AIDS. When he wouldn't let real HIV treatments happening.
Yep.
So when the protocols were killing people, what I'm saying is, I think it's so hard for people to believe that because most people are good. Well, and most people are like, there's no way someone would be that evil to do that, right? And that's what I mean. But they are that evil, and people are that evil. What I mean by that is people really hate Native Americans. Now, really quick, what you just said about Native Americans, seems like you understand a little bit about this. Why, in our history books still, is Custer's last stand?
Yeah.
Why is Custer the hero? That's what I'm saying about George Washington or Andrew Jackson or any of them. Why are they still the hero when there's other people that are actual heroes or actually good? You have John Browns all day.
So it's.
But why are they the heroes?
Because
Hitler's never the hero.
It's the definition of hero to whomever. I mean, that's this social construct that we run into. This is heroic to somebody. This is heroic to somebody else. This person's a POS to somebody. This person,
But let me lay this on you. How many people around the world look at Hitler as the hero?
Few.
And in Germany right now, how many people look at Hitler as the hero? Very few.
All of them are dead.
But look, like, it's illegal to even look at Hitler as the hero, right? You can't even have a swastika. Like Kanye's necklace would be illegal in Germany right now. I don't know if you've seen Kanye's new swastika necklace, but Kanye's necklace would be illegal in Germany. But what I'm saying is, here's the difference of Hitler and George Washington. The Nazis lost the war and aren't in charge anymore. America won the war and is still in charge. That's the difference.
Probably very.
What I mean,
extremely accurate.
I'm talking about death tolls, craziness, grossness. Were they both great leaders? Yeah, you have to give it to them. Both great leaders, economic-wise, military-wise, all these things. The accomplishment, where they brought their countries, out of World War I for, what's his name, for Hitler, out of nothing for what's his name?
GW.
Yeah, I mean, for real though. Like, so literally, the difference is he won, the other guy didn't. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. But I feel like that's where it comes from. It's like, you have to be proud to be American, so you have to be proud of George Washington, which is a real weird concept to me.
Well, so you think about it, though. So we have tried to, as a society, to devalue winning as a country, as a culture. I mean, that happened really when you were growing up and Megan was a kid. That's when everybody started getting a trophy for everything, and it was an even game. We didn't introduce that winning-losing thing very early in life. It didn't, for a lot of it didn't happen until they got into select balls or other things sports. When I was a kid, I knew if you won or lost.
Sure.
So, I don't know. Maybe it's just the whole social construct or social experiment that we've been doing now for, almost 250 years.
Winning and losing does something for people. I see the positives. I see the negatives. I don't like I guess what I don't like is I don't like the teaching someone that if they just show up, then they're just as good.
Yeah.
Just by showing up.
So.
Right? Because you can show up and suck. And it's like, that's not something we should be teaching kids, I don't think.
No. I probably learned more through losses than I did wins in life. If that was work, if it was in sports, I learned more from being in a car accident and what I could have done differently than I did by driving 1,000,000 miles and not ever having an accident.
Yeah.
But I think that takes that mindset to get to that.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And that comes from education and rearing. To me, it's no different than, and you've heard me say before, every day you got a choice every morning when you wake up. Your attitude is the first thing you got to choose.
Yeah.
You get your head on straight, you're probably going to have a good day.
Yeah.
You wake up and your head's not quite on straight, day's probably going to go backwards at some point.
100%.
I'm way better in the last 10 years about choosing my right attitude than I probably was through the first 50 years of my life.
Sure.
And so, often I preach that, that's the one thing that we get to do every day, doesn't matter race, religion, gender, anything, is we can choose your attitude.
No, that's 100%. 100%. You definitely can. And I mean, attitude sets a vibration for yourself. The vibration is what's going out there to the universe, what you're giving to the universe, what you're attracting in, what you're bringing in.
Sets your health, sets everything.
Yeah, no, 100% is the setup. It definitely is the setup. It's really concerning to me and very sad to me when it seems like the fad or the attitude norm is to be negative or to be, I hate when, this is a part of DEI, I think that got hijacked and that was woke or that got hijacked with woke and shit, was that some more of an inferiority thing to where it's like, because you're black, you can't. So then an attitude comes into it where it's like, I'm so oppressed that I can't. And I'm so held down. Then it gets your attitude and mindset of I'm so held down that I can't, right?
Yeah.
And there's a fine line, I think, too, of just beating in these consistent narratives of you were a slave, you were segregated, you were discriminated against, you were suppressed, all these things. You're inferior, inferior, inferior. Like, how much do you hear of that before you just believe that you're inferior compared to, like, you don't hear anything about very little about the positive, positive, positive. So I think there is a part of that too, where it's like they keep beating you over the head with it, and then it creates an attitude of like, I am nothing.
Takes me right back into the whole college scenario and paying the players. I am 100% behind paying those athletes.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing in a lot of revenue.
Sure.
What I'm not a fan of is them not having to make a contractual obligation to the school.
A commitment.
And a commitment to themselves academically.
Sure.
Because, let's look at basketball. How many Division I teams are there? There's a bunch. There's a bunch of players.
Sure.
How many make the? How many of them make
0.2%? I mean 100%. I used to preach it all day. You're not going pro,
and the ones that go pro,
you're not going to make money. Even when you go pro, you don't make that money unless you're the 1%.
Yeah, and if you do, what's the percentage of them that go broke?
Well,
it's way better today now than what it was.
You're right.
10 years ago.
And if you make a lot of money, it's half taxed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If you make a lot of money, it's half taxed. So you're making half of whatever the fuck they say.
Probably 60% tax with the jock tax and everything else.
And then you got your agent fee comes after your tax or whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So no, I get that.
But I think they need to make a commitment. If the school's going to commit to them, they need to make a commitment to the school.
Well, it has to be yearly contracts, right?
Well,
at least.
I think it needs to be a 3-year contract.
I don't like the 3 because I want you to be able to go pro. If you're the man, you got to be able to go get some more money. You have to be able to make a job advancement, right? Like a year, but same way a coach can. He can go make a job advancement. He can go break his contract.
But there's penalties.
If the coach goes, the other people just usually pay it off, right? The other team.
So it's the same thing. I mean, so you got a 3-year contract. So
the pro's gonna have to pay that off. You sign the 3-year.
Yeah, or if you go from University of Nebraska to Ohio State, and you're under a 3-year deal, and you're making $2 million a year, Ohio State's got to pay it.
No, I feel it. Guys,
and I think they pay back to day one.
Sign a 1 year, guys. Don't sign that 3. Sign that 1. But because season by season, I think it's so huge. And I know guys want the loyalty. Guys want the all that. I'm like, hey, it's America. You got to be able to move.
But what it's going to kill, it's going to kill the fan base. People quit showing up at the games, the universities.
Because they're losing, Pops.
Well,
because they're losing.
Because they're losing or because it's a new team every year.
But if they're winning, I think they show up. It don't matter.
It becomes kind of like baseball, kind of like pro basketball, kind of like those things. Pretty soon you've got to have ticket prices up there so high, and you're going to shrink down the stadiums because, you don't want to have 100,000 people in a football stadium and you can only sell 50,000 of them. Because the money's so high.
I don't think that they are afraid of losing the football fans. Nobody is. I think that people just think that people are just going to keep loving it.
The other deal is
people love football, man.
I mean, for $70 a month, I can watch every game college.
Yeah, I dig it, but it's cool to be down at the game.
It is.
It's a flex too. I mean, I think people with money are always going to go, man.
But
it's kind of like the movies.
But at what point do they say, yeah, it's not worth it anymore? I mean, look at the University of Nebraska. If you take the people that are over the age of 30, that's probably 90% of your season ticket holders.
True. So here's what I think. Just like with everything economic, right? You're going to evolve. For example, right? It sure isn't hurting Colorado.
Nope. Not right now.
But what I mean is, because they just brought on Coach Prime for 5 years, $54 million, right? What I'm saying was not hurting Colorado is they couldn't get a seat and they couldn't give away tickets. Now a ticket is $300 standard. Everybody wants season tickets. All the young people are out. So now you're replacing those other fans with this new demographic of fans. So I think that's another thing as well is kids my age who always wanted people to get paid, right? And then, men my age, and then the kids younger than me, the 20-year-olds, those fans, they don't know a different way. They're like, this is where it's at. And that's how they know sports now. Like, they like the transfer portal. They talk about it like, hey, who we get in the portal this year? Where are people going?
Yeah.
I think the younger crowd just likes that.
They do, but it's going to kill the loyalty piece of the fan base, I think.
It's very possible. But when you're winning, people love it. Like the loyalty of the Colorado Buffaloes exploded. And there's teams like that around the country. Indiana, they're loyal to the Indiana. All of a sudden, they're filling stadiums. Okay, they're winning. But that was a transfer-laden thing.
Oh, yeah.
That boy brought in transfers.
He brought in all of his old players.
He brought in the whole squad
D2.
from D2, right? He brought same thing my guy at Drake did, right?
Yep.
They bring the whole squad with them. But again, what's your boy saying? What was one of the favorite coaches? Rick Pitino.
Yeah.
He said, we're not looking at any high school players right now. We're not bringing in a high school player next year. We're going all transfer route. Like, that's what we're doing. But if you're winning and the new generation likes it, that's what I think. And you have to replace those old fans. See, that's the other thing. Like, how many more years are you going to be going to football? Like, how many years are you going to be like, you know what?
I can watch it on TV.
Yeah, I'm just going to chill, right? Either way, whether they'd have kept it the same or not.
Well, and now, I mean, if you look at the University of Nebraska, so they're going to sell alcohol in the stadium. Younger people love that.
Ooh.
I'm like, no, man, I can't go out.
It's got to get raucous.
I can't go out at halftime and get a beer out of my car and sit and talk with all my buddies I tailgate.
Oh, they'll stop that in and out, huh?
Yeah. Oh, it's dead.
Oh, that's cute. That's crazy. That's going to stop a lot. Well, but then again, though, people who are young, they love that shit. The younger kids who are not big ballers like y'all up there in the nice little garage, they're loving that.
Well, it's no different than it. So I went to the baseball game yesterday, and I went up to buy a pop. And we don't accept cash. Then keep your pop.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah, you don't like that.
You're going to force me to pay with credit?
You don't like that.
Why does Big Brother need to know where I'm buying a pop at? Man, it just pisses me off.
I get it. See, I'm at a different point of life where I want my points because I'm trying to get other free shit. So I'm a sucker to these credit cards because I want my free points. But I feel you, though. Like, the premise, I hate when somebody says they don't accept cash. I feel like it should be illegal in America.
Yeah.
Because it says on the damn thing,
legal tender note.
All debts payable. Okay, this is my soda. You have to take my. I hate it when people wouldn't take a 50 or a 20 or some shit at a place. I'm like, no, fuck, you have to take my shit. This is all debts payable. Here, you have. I don't like that. So if there's a rule, I guess if there was a rule that I was a real stickler about, it would be that you should have to be able to accept cash.
Yeah.
Now, they say the security part, right? They say, oh, it's so much safer. We don't have a bunch of cash here now, and people aren't trying to come and rob us. Damn, I get it. What about the people, doing all the soda sales or whatever with the change and everything goes wrong? And now it's just a swipe of the card, and so they try to pull that angle on you as well. But I feel you. I want to pay cash.
I don't want big bread. I mean, if I'm not gonna. I hate using my card. Two things. I would bet that their credit card cost stack is costing more than their pilferage ever did or their change being off ever did.
Ooh, yeah, sure.
So
they're already losing money.
I don't like enriching
just a big
bank
right?
for doing nothing.
Sure. I mean, they got some cool plastic, but no, I know what you mean though. I get it. They didn't do the transaction. Man. They didn't hustle. They didn't go there to sell it. The little kids going up and down the damn aisle, working his butt off.
I mean, I still, restaurants. You got to pay with credit card. Great. I'll pay for my meal with credit card. The tip's going to be $0. Here's $20. I'm going to give you cash.
Sure. I haven't ran into many restaurants that are.
Haven't been many yet.
But then again, too, you be at a different level of restaurant.
I mean, you catch them at some high-end places. And they say, hey, we only take plastic. Great. Can I give you cash for a tip?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. And they just slide up. Cash for my tip.
So I'm ready for that. I'm ready. Like, I remember when we was in Vegas at a different type of place, right? And, just out of my league, that place right there. I think, what'd y'all buy, like a $300 meatball? I think somebody got a $300 shot of something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw some crazy shit.
That's for my 60th birthday, though.
I
it's only
know.
coming around once in my life,
but
man.
I'm just saying, like, that was at a different level. I was sitting at the table like, man, yeah, y'all are going hard here. I think y'all got a serious bottle of wine, like a $900 bottle of wine or some shit. I didn't want to take none of the wine. I'm cool. I'm sticking with this water right here, right now, because this shit is crazy. Y'all were going tough.
I did bring you some wine, too. It's in the back of my truck.
I'll take that wine.
Don't forget that.
I'll take that wine, though. That's a little different. Oh, that's good stuff. Okay, really quick. Tariff before we get out of here. People are still scared. Shit's still happening. Lots of deals are going on. Deals are stopping. Deals are hopping. Give us an update on tariffs, Pops.
Well, and I've just been watching some. But today, one of the Providence Ford, the Providence, I don't remember even what Providence in Canada is. He's like, hey, I'm going to go to zero tariffs on both ways.
Ottawa.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go zero tariffs both ways. Oh, really? You no longer need to charge us 240% on milk and 190% on eggs, and
they're ready to play ball now.
Yeah, I mean, so I think we'll have a mixture of that.
Yeah,
and we'll have a mixture of people that are going to just tariff us back. But I think at the end of it, and I hope, and he was supposed to come out today, and I didn't get the finals. I hope it's reciprocal tariffs. If Europe's going to tariff us 25% on cars, we're going to tariff them 25% on cars. I mean, right now they're tariffing us like 20%, and we're only tariffing them like 2.5%.
Like, why does anybody think that's okay? Like, how could you think that's okay? Like, anybody, that's not good business. Because a lot of people don't know shit about business. A lot of people have never tried to actually do anything business-wise.
A whole bunch of our politicians are just lawyers.
Yeah.
They've never made a payroll. They've never been part of payroll.
Sure.
They've never had to do that. Their entire life has been taking from other people and spending somebody else's money.
Sure. No, I dig it. There's a lot of people that worked in government their whole life too.
Yeah.
That like have never really had to, really worry about the money that they're spending or getting or anything real economic. Other than an empty ATM.
That's even when I wasn't a business owner, I was always worried about the company that I worked for making money.
Sure.
Because if they don't make money, I'm not going to make any money. At some point,
sure,
we're going to have a reckoning, and it's going to go bad.
100%.
It's kind of like, somebody said, well, Walmart actually hires people at this level and then shows them how to apply for food stamps. Well, why are people working for that level?
I feel like why
we have choices, and there's whole bunches of jobs out there.
There's a lot of jobs.
Some of them maybe you're going to take some physical work or some mental work.
Sure.
But there's availability out there.
That's what somebody one day I was debating someone about the minimum wage. And he was debating how the minimum wage is the worst thing for the American worker. And he was saying he must have worked at I think he said some airport at some time or some air carrier or something. And they didn't have a minimum wage. And as soon as they got a minimum wage, everybody's shit got fucked up because all the wages went down. And he says, once you put a minimum on what you're allowed to work for, then he's like, that's like the baseline where everybody expects. He's like, unless you just say, I have these skills, I'm going to tell you what I won't work for. I'm going to demand what I think I'm worth. But I kind of see where it's like if minimum wage could be at 7, people are going to try to start you at 7.
Yeah, but the federal minimum wage has been $7.25 or whatever forever. Nebraska's is on its way to 15. I think it's 12 something this year, and it ratchets up over the next 3 years to get to 15.
Okay.
And after that, then they've put some constraints into how much you can go up annually. But anybody that starts their value proposition at the lowest isn't valuing themselves enough.
No, 100%. But I also think too, there's a thing where I'll be real.
I mean, I worked for minimum wage when it was $1.95.
Sure. I did when it was $4.15.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, okay, I'm just be real, right? As a 15-year-old, maybe I was 14, as a 14-year-old, right, at McDonald's, when I first started, I don't think, and I love myself, and I think I look at myself highly, right? I don't think I was worth more than $4.15 when I first started at McDonald's. Like, I'm be real. Like, not saying that I was going into it like I'm worth, the minimum wage, but what I'm saying is, people will be appalled sometimes that people work for minimum wage, but it's like, that was my first job, like clock in job, whatever. Like, right? I'd done other things for myself. I've been hustling. I've been doing my thing, whatever. But the first time I actually tried to get a job where it's like, hey, welcome to this place. And I'm got to learn this. And I got to, they're training me and shit. It's like, I don't know. Like, I think kids starting off, like, there's lower end jobs for a reason. I think for just starters, for people to get experience, for people to see what the workforce is, if they want to be in there, if they want to do it. And like, I'm just be real, like, I don't think that, that was a job back in the day worth $10 an hour.
No, but
I'm just saying.
But that's and those types of functional jobs that are low in scale are going to be needed, and people that have no skill sets, they're a teen, they're in high school, maybe they're working for minimum wage, but they are learning so much about life.
Yeah, I learned at those places. I had to interact with people. I had to get yelled at by customers.
And the first time you got a paycheck and you went, "What's this FICA?"
Right? What's this Medicaid shit?
Yeah. What is this?
I don't understand. What just happened?
All three of my kids, when they got their first paycheck, they're like, "Well, they took half of it." I said, who took half of it? Well, this FICA and this federal tax. Welcome to adulthood.
Yeah. It knows.
It gets worse before it gets better.
That's why if you're a business owner, you don't have to pay taxes first.
Yeah. And I think, well, you kind of do. You pay FICA.
I mean, they don't take it. Well, it matters what you're doing. It matters what you're doing. But, like, you don't get this check where it's automatically just take the shit.
10% of your payroll is going out every month.
See, payroll is different when you're employing people. For these real small businesses, people doing themselves, little 1099s and shit.
So
it's a little different.
Conceptually, because we talk about our tax system and it being broke and all these things. And I've heard this from guys for 30 years. If you really want to try to fix the tax system, make every employee write that check that's going for federal taxes, for state taxes, for FICA, for Medicare. Make them write those checks and send them in when they get their paycheck. Shit would change in a hurry.
Wow. Yeah, people. It's different when you actually, it's like paying with cash compared to that card. Because you can one of the smartest things, I want to bring this up, Anthony Goins, used to be state development director for Nebraska, but he was the owner of Capital City Cigars. He is the owner of Capital City Cigars in Lincoln. And before that, he was a big C-suite guy at Cabela's Bank that got sold, Capital One and all that shit. Anyways, he goes nuts business-wise. You walk into his cigar lounge, you get greeted by their folks, their host or whatever, and you give them your credit card right away and put it on file. Then they walk you into the cigar room. Here's this. Which one would you like? They walk you to the bar. Hey, look at all these drinks. Which one do you like? All that. You never pay for anything. To the end, they give you back your credit card and have you sign your receipt, right? So you never see the prices. You never know anything that you're getting. You just fucking do it. Like, are you a baller or not, right? Like, that's how taxes are. Like, when they're just taken out of your check. You never get to know really exactly what happened. You don't get to see it. It's just gone. And they give you the bill back. Like, hey, here's what we took. All right, see you later.
Yeah, and then at the end of the year, you get to file it, and, whoa, we didn't get enough from you.
We didn't get enough. But that's crazy what that's how the brother did it. He was like, hey, I'm smart. I'm going to go ahead and just take your shit right away. You walk in here, you give me your card.
Yep.
Nuts. That wouldn't be your type of place.
No. I went in there, I'll be honest, I went in there once, and that was the path. Another guy paid for my cigar, paid for my one cocktail, and I left. And I've never been back in there.
Oh, man. That literally is the thing, but so many people just do it. It's like a status thing. People just want to ball out.
I can go online and buy a box of really good cigars, and I can set it at my fire table and drink some really good liquor.
I feel it.
And be chilled.
I feel it.
And I can have 10 guys come over and give them 10 cigars and the 10 cocktails.
Do your thing.
And I'm okay with that.
I dig it.
But for me to give somebody my credit card before I start, I just have a problem with that.
I dig it. I mean, it's a smart business move by him for 99% of the people, right? But I was like, what the hell? I got to give up my credit card?
Especially the young folks, because they're used to everything being plastic transaction.
You're right.
They don't carry any cash.
It's like, it's convenient for them. Like, yeah, here. Take my shit. I mean, and go in there and go nuts.
Zach, I think, does 90% of his stuff that way.
I mean, I do as well, just because.
But, at the same time, I know Zach and Mariah, but they don't know about Megan, but they keep cash in their console just in case.
Yeah, we're supposed to have a mad $100 on us, just in case. We're supposed to have a mad 100 at least. But, yeah, no, 100%. My grandpa used to always have a mad Yeah, I think back in the day it was like a mad $40 somewhere, right? Now you need a mad upper scale. Look, we've been talking about a lot. Hey, let's get into basketball real quick. Okay, the Final Four is the 4 guys that were supposed to make it.
First time in a long time.
That's cool. And damn it, I was thinking to myself, should have bet on that. The Final Four being all those 4 guys is Houston, Auburn, Duke, Florida.
All the number ones.
Duke and Florida play. No. Houston, Duke play. Florida, Auburn play. Right?
Yes.
Florida, Auburn. That's tough because it's SEC foes. The Duke one is tough too because Houston finally played lights out last time. And are they long? Are they too long for Duke? Are they fast and long? You're going to press it against them? Duke has just been good. The ACC has been down, but Duke has been good. It's a tough one for me. Is it -5 right now? I think it was -5.
Duke's 8-9 deep. That'll be the difference. They've got 6-7 solid ballers.
Duke beat Arizona, right? I watched Arizona dismantle Houston. Here's what I'm saying. I watched Arizona dismantle Houston in the Big 12.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm going off of.
Duke won, well, they won the tournament without 2 starters.
Sure.
And they won a lot of games with 1 or 2 starters out.
Mm-hmm.
They are
Cooper on the bench once he gets,
They are deep.
Yeah.
And they're athletic.
Yeah.
Everybody says, I don't know if Cooper's that good, when you look at him versus a Zion Williams.
Wait, who says that?
Oh, they've been the talking heads, versus a Zion Williams.
Oh, my God.
That's
Whoever said that
is crazy.
Needs to shut up. Whoever says that just, I'm going to be real. If you're saying that, I would imagine he's either just bullshitting, trying to make a talking head, or they didn't play basketball at a high level. Like they didn't play real basketball. You know what I mean? Because if you're a hooper, if you are a hooper, or if you just know ball, you see the intangibles that Cooper brings. He's just a baller all around.
Wow.
And he's the type of guy where like he gets the ball and you just know he's going to score in a way. But he's not just a regular pull up and jump shot, shoot you or whatever. No. He has everything in his bag. He's going to be a better ball handler, right? That's where he could be better at. I think he's just a better ball handler.
Isn't he 7 foot?
I don't know. He's like 6'7", 6'8", ain't he?
6'8", is he?
Something like that. I'm pretty sure. Look it up though. But like compared to like a Kevin Durant type, or like even like there's a lot of bigger guys now that just handle the ball really good. Even how Luke kind of handles the ball sometimes, but sometimes I just see him not handling the ball how I'd like to see him. But man, is he a bucket. 6'9".
6'9".
So maybe 6'8" to 6'9". But man, is he a bucket. And I mean a bucket. I mean, he can do it every single way. He'll stop back, shoot on you. He has the mid-range is nasty. He's long. He'll go dunk
7
on
foot
you.
wingspan. That's what it was.
There
7
it
foot
is.
wingspan.
Look, he's not afraid to dunk on you, man. I'm talking about go to the rim and dunk on you. And one.
See the guy high point him?
Oh yeah.
That was pretty cool.
No, but what I love is he doesn't go like rough,
Yeah.
right? He got up, got his ass back on defense, went got some other shit, came back, won the game.
And scored.
Like literally, like that's what I watch him do. And I see him go back to back too. Like he will play defense and he's smart with the defense. I know I feel like I'm just glazing him right now, but I'm not because I've watched him a lot. He plays defense. He's the type of player you love to coach. He plays defense. He plays team ball. He's looking at everywhere he's going to take the best shot or make the best play. He plays team defense. He comes and helps. He goes straight up. He isn't just swatting his shit. I mean, really, 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 I can't say enough good things about Cooper Flagg. I really can't.
Well, he's had tons of double-doubles. I mean, he has a lot of it. I mean, I think he's leading the team in assists, rebounds, and scoring.
He doesn't travel as much as other players. I'm just saying, man. I know
fundamentally he is super sound.
But he also has sauce, man. I'm telling you, this guy is just good. Oh, he throws the alley-oop like nobody. Like, this guy is, I believe in Cooper Flagg.
I do too. I mean,
he's the best player in basketball, in college basketball.
Right now,
absolutely. I think he's the best player in college basketball. Now, I know Toppin, he's dope. There's a lot of that Love kid from Louisville or whatever.
Yep.
Man, he's good. I mean, there's a lot of good people. Don't get me wrong. Or was it Louisville? Who took them? They didn't cover. Was it? I can't remember.
Louisville got beat.
Well, but
when Duke didn't cover.
Team. Yeah, it was a red team. It was a red and black team. Love
Texas
was the
Tech.
guy.
Texas Tech, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Texas Tech. No, because that's Toppin over there at Texas
Yeah.
Tech. Anyways, the guy is, I'm just saying, Cooper Flagg is the man.
Yeah.
He really is the man. So I get it. It's hard to bet against Cooper Flagg.
We were just in San Antonio.
Oh.
So their big convention centers set up for like all their hoopla party stuff.
Yeah.
And it's probably a block over to the football stadium where they're going to play the basketball games.
That's cool.
It was pretty cool. And it's just going to be crazy down there.
Hey, wait, is that in the UTSA arena? The UT San Antonio? Or is it like where the San Antonio Spurs play?
No. It's where the
University of Texas El Paso? No. University of Texas San Antonio. UTSA, isn't it that arena?
It's an indoor.
It's like an indoor football field.
Yeah.
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 I think it's the one. It's the UTSA Roadrunner field.
But it's going to be
with a whole what's the hole in there?
I don't know. The vibe there.
It looked huge.
The vibe in the town for it coming was crazy.
Because that's right around the corner from the Alamo too, right?
Yeah.
That stadium that we're talking about, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking of the same one.
So the Alamo was closed. What day were we doing? It was closed Saturday. Tried to go to it Saturday morning. It was closed for their one time a year. They close it for a big fundraiser, and that was that Saturday, week before Final Four.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So yeah, I like Duke. So what was the points 5? I think the points was 5. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. And Houston, Houston's good. So that'll be a good game. Then we got Auburn, Florida. I still like Florida. Auburn's been playing lights out.
I think Auburn's going to upset them. I mean, Florida's good, but they've been a little bit up and down. And
they're always up and down.
Auburn has been just.
Auburn has been crashing.
Well, they've been just on this steady.
No, they have. They definitely have, and they're just good. I mean, they're good. But Florida, I don't think this is a down the wire game. I think one team's going to be hotter, and it's going to be 12 points at least to one team.
Well, I think that game will come down to the first 2 minutes of the second half.
See what happens. Okay, so we should do a Duke and Auburn and a Duke and Florida. Yeah, just try to get two teamers that pay either way. It's going to give us some money either way. Because that'll work. If you do a 60, you probably get like a 220 out of one of them.
And I like Florida and Duke both on a race to 10.
Like them come out hot. I do too. Let's do it. Hey guys, get those race to 10s in. Those race to 10s and 20s are fun.
They're fun.
Oh, they're fun. Hey, when does that happen? That's Saturday?
Saturday, 5 and 7, basically, or 5 and 8, basically.
5 and 8. I'd like to watch that game.
I was just going to say, what do you got going on?
That's what I'm saying. I don't have plans right now. Let's try to make some plans.
Kind of look, because
I don't care where we watch it, but let's watch it.
We should go to the boat and watch it.
To the place?
Yeah.
I'm down for the biz note. Smoke a cigar.
Go over there and chill and watch it. I'm sure Sheryl and Megan would go in a heartbeat.
Most definitely. Dang, man. We tried to go to Harrah's the other day. They had horrible seating for us, man. That's the only thing about the shoe. They have more seating.
Yeah.
I can't stand the shoe, but they have more seating. I tell you what. But so look, Final Four is gonna be dope. Me and Megan got a special thing on Florida to beat Duke. I don't think it's gonna happen, but that'd be cool. Florida to beat Duke in the final, Yeah. Because that's it was a nice payoff. It was like something crazy, a while ago. Oh, we hit Megan and I hit a 3-teamer. We were at the casino for her birthday. So before we went out to eat or after or some shit. And we put in, as a 3-teamer I forgot about, we put a $60 at one of the machines. And it was Georgetown. Gosh, now I'm gonna forget. It was a 3-teamer from the little small games yesterday.
Georgetown, Nebraska.
Sorry, Georgetown, Villanova. And then we did, I forget the third team, but anyways, Georgetown pushed. Villanova won big over Colorado. Can't remember the third team. Anyways, it's a nice little payout. Like I said, it was like, it was fun. I forgot all about it. She hit me like in the middle of the game, like, hey, we just need Villanova to keep going. I was like, what? Okay, Villanova? I was teaching class. Oh, man.
I need to...
You see what type of state I was in that night. I forgot we even placed a bet.
I was going to put in their Final Four.
Okay, so you guys would like this place. The Jewel in Omaha. It was such a cool place. That place I showed you, I sent you videos. It was such a classy, cool place. They got some of the best cool musicians in there that are playing like they were just playing awesome, like Marvin Gaye and stuff that night. And they did some Michael Jackson and some Marvin Gaye. There's a wonderful bit. But anyways, it's such a cool, classy spot. And they looked like they had food that you would have liked. Like they had like ribs. They had they had like a steak thing in there or whatever. And it was a cool little, it's like a cool little thing. You sit down and they bring all the things to you.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh man, it was a cool place. You guys they're open on Fridays and Saturdays.
So I'm going to book out Saturday. May have to see what Mariah's doing, but I'm going to try to book out like 4 to 11. I have to see what Mariah's doing, see if she can take care of Ivy.
Go. Let's go, y'all. Make it happen. Big basketball, Final Four time.
Better put that on the family calendar, just see what Cheryl says.
Yeah, there it is. So look, y'all have a fun time with Final Four. We're going to. And be good to each other. Stop being mad just because somebody's on another aisle of the side to you or something. Remember that they're a human.
And remember, every day you get to wake up and choose your attitude. Mm. And it's way easier to find positive than to harp on the negative. And I know there's a lot of negative in the news media. I get it. It's easy to get into that feeding frenzy. But, just show some love and respect to your fellow human being unless they truly wrong you. And if they physically wrong you or verbally wrong you, that's one thing. But we got a lot of vandalism and stuff going on for people that don't even know each other, which is crazy to me. Just crazy. Love y'all. Peace out.
Peace.
No agenda, no bull crap, just real conversations. Thank you for joining us for the middle of